Hello. In this video, I'm going to show you how to schedule panel interviews within BambooHR using the Cronofy integration. Cronofy lets you create one interview invite with the combined availability of multiple interviewers. So that means if you need to schedule whoever is available from a team of interviewers, that's possible. You can also add mandatory interviewers to attend the interview. So I'm currently logged into BambooHR at the moment, and I'd like to invite my candidate April to a panel interview. So I've loaded my template here. I just need to create the interview invite using Cronofy. It requires a bit of setup first in Cronofy, so you need to create a selection rule and a template. So as a first user, you might not see this functionality here. So we're going to go through the process of creating the selection rule. For that, you will need to head to your organizational unit settings in Cronofy and then click on the scheduling tab to finally select selection rules. A selection rule is essentially a group of interviewers where we say whoever is available from this group can be picked to attend the panel interview. So I've already have a group of hiring managers in my case, and I've added 5 hiring managers, and I'm telling Cronofy I actually only need 2 of them to attend the panel interview. So what Cronofy will do is that it will shuffle through all of the hiring managers' availability and just pick 2 to attend. These are members of my organizational unit in Cronofy, so make sure you've invited them to Cronofy to be able to add them to the selection rule. So once I've identified who needs to be part of this panel interview, I need to create a template, which essentially is gonna kind of dictate the scheduling preferences of the panel interview. And it's also a way for me as a recruiter to set a standard description in the calendar invite for my candidate. So I also have a template ready for this panel interview called BambooHR panel interview here. And so the first thing I would need to do here is just to give it a name. It is an internal name, it's just for my own reference, so I'll call it panel interview. The second thing I need to do is to add that selection rule we just had a look at earlier. So that would be hiring manager. By adding them, we're going to pull availability from that selection rule to pick the interviewers who need to be part of this interview. Now, this is using random selection, as I previously explained. So you don't have control over who exactly will turn out to be the interviewers. If you need to add a mandatory interviewer, you can simply add another selection rule, and essentially that selection rule will only contain that person. So let's say I want to add a shadower, and the shadower here is Marty. That means that now Cronofy will pick 2 hiring managers from this selection rule and pick Marty as well to be scheduled for the panel interview. So once we sorted out who needs to be scheduled, we are getting into templating here, where you can set up scheduling preferences, so the duration for the interview, etc. I would highly recommend you allow rescheduling. That would allow the candidate to reschedule via the invite rather than having to get in touch with you. Now, the second thing that is really important is that as you will be sending out those invites, you want to ensure that there is consistency, and so you can set up a standard description, like so. Now, anything from basically anything in the event defaults here will be visible in the calendar invite to the candidate. So this title will be officially the name of the calendar event. So you might want to add a little bit more details there. The last thing is the conferencing. So as I said, as soon as Cronofy has picked 2, or in this case 3 interviewers, we will also pick a host who will conduct the interview. And so if I was the host, we would be using my default conferencing. So I'm using Zoom. That means that the calendar invite will auto-generate a Zoom link for the candidate to connect. So I'm all good now. I have my template. I can now start pulling this template from BambooHR. And so that's pretty straightforward. I will go into schedule an interview. I will select that template in the drop down. And I literally have nothing to do here. The email address of the candidate is populated, the description is populated, so I can just go ahead and generate the invite. So let's send that email and see what happens. So in terms of candidate experience, this is what they will see on their end. So they will see a series of time slots where in our case, 3 interviewers are available to meet. So they can select a time, and once they select a time, the event will be booked automatically in their calendar, as for the rest of the interviewers. Now, if you want to know who turned out to be the interviewer, you will need to go back into Cronofy, and here we can see that Ilya, one of the interviewer, was picked as the host, and our 2 other interviewers are Dennis and Marty. And that's just the candidate here. Now, if I go back to BambooHR, this is also reflected in BambooHR. So I've got my panel interview scheduled, and I've got visibility over the time as well. That's pretty much everything you need to know about templating in Cronofy. Just remember that you will need to do a little bit of setup in Cronofy